We are live. Welcome to day 23 of Haitian Vlogmas, Haitian Proverb Vlogmas. Today we got a very special guest. Today we have the one and only Nigel Allen. Give it up for Nigel Allen, everyone. What's good, my brother? Dan, you see, don't clap for yourself, son, because then that's when I start to hit the reverb, even though it's probably not reverbing and shit. So,
I'm not bad.
what's good with you? How you doing,
Nothing
brother?
much. Living a dream.
Living the dream,
Living a
man.
dream, man.
Freshly retired.
Fact.
Kind of nervous retired, so retire me. I gotta get new sound effects. I'll be playing them shits out. But yeah, let's do what we here today to do, and that is the Haitian Vlogmas, day 23. I'm gonna read it in Creole, Nigel's gonna read it in English, and we're gonna say what it means to both of us. But my Creole is not the best, so if you feel away about it, talk heavy in the comments. I already understand what's coming to me. All right, so the proverb goes: Sonje, lapli, leve, mayi. Ooh. Sonje, lapli, leve, mayi. Ooh.
Remember the rain that made your corn grow.
Remember the rain that made your corn grow. What's that mean to you, bro?
Honestly, it means a lot of different things, but at its basis, what I take away from it is, regardless of where you at, you got to remember the work that was put forth to get you where you're going, whether it be the help of others or the toils and the actual physical labor, the stress, the anxiety that got you there. Because in life, you got different aspects of the residual aspects of success where people get to a certain level and they forget who helped them get there. Or from the outside, they'll see you. Look at Myles. He's successful. He got rank, got his own podcast, but they don't understand all the rain that fell to have you to this level. So it's a personal proverb, but then it's also an external proverb where, depending on your view, you got to realize that there's a lot more that goes on in the background to get people to where they're at. So that's what I take away from it. And I could go deeper after you give your piece.
The way I look at it is straight up, you know, more on the as the person that is climbing the ladder of success, right? You kind of like that's why they tell you like when you set goals, always like keep celebration in it, right? Because sometimes I feel like we don't even realize how much we do until somebody else says something, and then it's like, man, like yeah, like I'm on to the next one already. Like only person that's thinking about my rank and everything is somebody that's not trying to do their shit. You know what I mean? So I like, yo, I could look at somebody and admire them, but like that's why like I'm a big fan of asking questions. Man, I told this dude the other day, he was like, I won like a contest like in the community that I'm in, and they was like, oh, now Myles is gonna ask 1,000 questions about how. I'm like, yo, you damn right, son. Yes, I am. You know what I mean? Because I feel like, leaders are readers, and that's how you grow.
Exactly. And even as you mentioned, retiring, um, it was a stressful period trying to figure out how to be a civilian, how to translate into the civilian world. So when I finally got the good news, I got a job and I started, all of a sudden people start hitting me up like, and I'm like, it doesn't work like that. There's a lot of work that goes into play in the background to get you where you at. And I had to explain to them, you gotta ask a ton of questions. It's asking yourself these questions and asking others. How, what steps did you take? Right? That's what you gotta ask others. But internally, you got to ask, what are my weaknesses? Everyone likes to talk about how great they are, but until you could own up to your flaws and then fix those flaws to make them strengths, you're gonna fail. So I'm with you on that. I ask questions. I'm notorious for that. I'll ask a million questions until I'm confident in my answer or confident in my ability to do whatever you task me to do.
Right. And it's the same thing like with like being a dad, right? Because like sometimes like you see your son or your daughter struggling with something, and you might get like the first emotion might be I'm outraged. I can't believe, not like that, two apples and two, not like that. You know what I'm talking about? When he's like, yo,
Yeah,
there was three apples, they take away two. How many do you have? Not like that, but just straight up, man, like how could you not know this? But it's like, man, like you was a C student. Like now you wilding at somebody that's getting B's, A's and B's, and you
exactly,
mad?
exactly.
Yeah, that's the same shit I be thinking about.
Yeah, and even to that point, as 15-year-old son, 10-year-old daughter, some of the stuff they're learning, I don't know. But I tell them, like, instead of sitting there and stressing about certain things, ask me. I may not know it, but I'll help you find the answer. And it's that rain you got to pour onto the crop to let it grow. People think they're just gonna head outside, throw a seed in the ground, and it's gonna grow. Nah, you got to ask the question, figure out what the weather pattern is. When is the best time to plant the seed to learn stuff? Ask the questions to learn when it's best. What's the best way to teach? Everyone doesn't learn the same way. You got to figure out what's right. And like you said, I might have been a C student. I'm knocking my B student because his learning pattern is different than mine. It's simple to me, but what's his way of learning? I gotta learn that as a father.
Yeah, and I also say that to that point, but the even greater point I think that people in society need to understand is like when somebody says, "Yo, look at my son, he ain't shit. Like look at him, look how he
Yeah,
dressed, look how he move," and I'm like, "Yo, son, where you think he got that from? Like you think he just
exactly,
like
exactly,
he
exactly,
lazy?
exactly,
Somebody call a kid lazy, and it's like yo, like everybody was lazy, but it's like yo, like you ain't put that foot in his ass at first, he gonna be lazy, and he don't listen to you because of that. It's not like people say, oh, they got the kids got their own personalities, and I'm like, yeah, but there's certain traits that as a parent you could just put in them.
exactly. And it's in a parenthood type of situation, and even in the military leadership type situation where you could see somebody failing, and without question, you know why they failing because whoever mentored them, whoever their parent was, that role model was on the same type of nonsense. So it's a trickle down effect, and they grew in the same soil that the predecessor did. To where it's like before you critique others, look at your crop. Your crop sucks. And it's funny, I was talking to my assistant and I explained to that where I was fortunate enough to work with a lot of people, mentor some, put others in positions to where when I see them hear that they fail, I feel away. And I'm on the phone like, yo, what's going on? This is what I'm hearing about you. Snap out that shit. Cause I take it personal.
Yeah, that's a great point, man. Because a lot of times, especially in the military, like a lot of relationships are like, yo, as soon as I get transferred, whatever, yo, we don't speak anymore. But when somebody talks like crap or whatever, because people do it a lot about somebody that I was talking to, like, yo, how you know about that? I'm like, yo, because I ask about you, bro. I ask
Yeah,
about you. So
yeah.
it's like it ain't like, you know what I mean? Like my relationship is thicker than that, and especially if I showed you something, you know, that's interesting that you said that because I do the same thing. I think that's like natural shit.
Yeah, yeah, because it's and even on a more personal level, like I teach my kids, like when I ask my kids for stuff, I'm saying please and thank you. Some people look at me like, yeah, your kids, why the hell are you saying please? They have to do it. Nah, I can't tell them to respect you when I don't respect them. It's that residual effect. That's what I'm pouring into them. They're gonna earn respect, they'll demand respect, but more importantly, they're gonna give respect because that's the type of household that I have. When it comes to military, now the civilian world, whoever works for me, I treat them in a certain way, like equals. Yes, when when shit hits the fan, I'm in charge. But the only way I'm gonna develop you to be the best you, to be confident, is to treat you with that level of respect, integrity, and give you ownership of stuff. And others like, no, 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 no. That's they work for you. You should demand it. No, they're gonna do what I tell them to do because they want to, because they understand that they're part of something, that I'm invested in them, so they should be invested in me. My success is their success, and vice versa. And that's something that a lot of people, regardless of their background, whether it's in the professional world, in the civilian world, or the military world, like to forget. They think I made it. You better do it on your own too. Nah, someone looked out for you. You
Yeah,
definitely didn't make it where you at on your own.
it's so funny you say that because I was talking to Colonel Harris, right? I had him
Yeah,
on the show, and he was telling me he was just giving us like good like leadership stuff, and he was like, "Yo, you know, it's one thing to have a mentor, but you always kind of want an advocate on your side, like somebody that's gonna always talk good about you when you're not around, and like, cause that mentor can give you that game to forge forward, but like, your what do you call it? Your reputation is everything, and
yeah,
especially if you know people that's going to be in that room where you need that you trying to get into. It's just good to be like that all around good human being.
exactly. And it's funny. Some years ago, I ran into a situation where there was a senior leader. He just met me, saw certain things that he didn't understand. Instead of coming to me and asking the why so that I could explain it to him, he went outside. I just so happened to bump into a former senior leader that I worked with while overseas. And as we're catching up, he's like, "Oh, by the way, so and so asked me about you." So I'm like, "Why?" He's like, "Nah, he saw this and it didn't make sense to him. So I guess you told him that I was your command sergeant major. So he came running to me to complain." But luckily, I fostered that relationship where I created advocates, regardless of where I was, so that my good friend, Command Sergeant Major, was like, "Nah, if Allen is doing it, he's doing it for a reason, and I have utmost confidence in what he's doing, and as a senior leader, you should do the same." And that just spun the relationship because someone that this dude trusted advocated for me, and that's because I developed that repertoire.
And that's what they call it in the army now, like 360 leadership, right? Is it called
Yeah,
360 leadership or something like that? But
yeah, something like that.
that is awesome though, because like you just said, man, like there are gonna be people like, and those people like that. I don't know who that guy was, but they usually don't want to do it. And what
Yeah,
he asked you to do, because he's so unsure, that's why he's checking so he could hit you with the 99 questions, so you could try to change it in the fourth quarter. And it's like that's
yeah,
where you got to be big on trusting your team and not being scared to fail. Because I don't really feel like especially in the military. Um, we have failing events. It's just like, yo, it's gonna get done. This is gonna be harder, but if somebody's owning it, let them have that because you'd be surprised what comes out.
yeah. Exactly, exactly, exactly. And as you said, it's also owning up to it and understanding that it's going to get done. For some, it gets done easy. For some, it takes time. But as the proverb says, the rainfall, it could be a slow rainy season. But if you got to toil that soil a bit longer than the other spot, they got that heavy rain, that heavy support channel, they might they will succeed. But yeah, so again, this proverb, man, to me, it's so multifaceted that I could apply it to so many different aspects of things. It's remain. I take it as remaining humble. Don't forget where you came from. Remember to thank the people that help you get there. Paying it forward. You succeed, give back to your community because that community made you. You, especially in the military, you already know how a subordinate could become a supervisor based on a promotion chart, but you treat people like crap. Now all those people that you shitted on is now your radar. Now you're looking crazy. And I'll speak from experience. I remember I worked with this one individual. The dude tried to give me a hard time, but my personality never let that get to me, and I fired back. All of a sudden, he was in a tight spot. He had to take his cap off, holding his hand with the beggar's hand, asking for help. And I looked out for him, and he was shocked. And now he's one of my biggest advocates. So again, it always come full circle. Not forgetting who you are, remaining humble, and looking out for others, even if you may not vibe with them 100%. I believe in karma.
Yeah, nah, karma is definitely a real thing, especially in that game, and it's like your ego gets checked a lot too. It could
100%.
get stroked, but it could also get checked real quick. And then at the
Definitely.
time when you find yourself at the most vulnerable position, that's the time where you kind of need the people that you never thought was going to be there for you, and they just show up, and then you get like a whole paradigm shift.
Exactly, exactly. I'm telling you, leaving the military, working the role that I did, the amount of people who interacted with some shady people, some high quality people, but at the same time, when their career is on the line, it's a it's an ego check. No matter how big you are, how bulletproof you felt, things come full circle, and they realize that they didn't treat people the way they should. Sometimes they might have tended to certain people too much and disregarded others. They got them in a tight spot. Yeah.
Yeah, nah, it's all real, man. But man, thank you for joining me today
I
on this
got you. I got you.
23rd
Long
episode
overdue.
of
Overdue.
Nah, word. This 23rd episode of Vlogmas. But yo,
Yeah.
you could come
Yeah.
on the show one day, man. Like the show is on Wednesday, and you know the show gets a little nutty. This is more like an exercise that we did in the Ecamm community, and like these guys have helped me with my video and production. So this is like a challenge they do every December, and I'm just happy to be a part of it this
That's
year.
all. That's awesome.
But I'll give you the last word, man.
No, again, truly appreciate you inviting me, and I know it's long overdue. So I thank you for your patience. You're one of my oldest and truest friends, and I just want to say I'm proud of you, man. So keep doing what you're doing. And now that I finally transitioned out and things are getting back at a good spot, I'm definitely gonna hop on the regular show whenever you'll have me. So. That's all I got. Happy Vlogmas, happy holidays, happy New Year, everybody.
Love, man. Thank you so much. Now to play us out and scream.